What's going on, guys? It's Jake here, and in this video I'll be talking about some monthly dividend stocks that I think are the best ones that are currently available, and specifically they're available on the Robinhood app because that's the main app I use for my main brokerage account, and I know a lot of you guys on my channel use it as well. But before I get in the video, if you're new to the channel, I talk about investing, the stock market, personal finance, entrepreneurship, things like that. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff and you are not yet subscribed and you enjoy my content, definitely consider subscribing. But other than that, getting into it. So monthly dividend stocks, not really too many, and it's kind of hard to come upon ones that give consistent payments and also ones that continually grow their payments and are just consistent stocks overall. But this list, in my opinion, are some of the best ones. I do actually currently own 3 of them out of 6, and I actually did own at least one of the other ones in the past as well. But anyways, these aren't necessarily in any specific order. I do have one favorite out of this list, but they're other than that, they're not really in any order. But the first stock is going to be Stag Industrial, ticker symbol STAG. So most of these stocks are REITs, and this is one that doesn't have like amazing performance or anything like that, but it is a monthly dividend stock that's going to consistently give you a pretty decent dividend every single month. Their yield at the time of making this video is right below 5%, so it is actually a pretty decent yield. I pretty much consider anything above 3% yield, like that's a pretty solid dividend yield. It's kind of tough to find decent stocks above that yield. And anything above like 7, 8, 9% is probably getting towards a little bit more of a risky territory. But anyways, overall, I mean, it's not super undervalued, super overvalued. It's somewhat in the middle. It's got a forward P of 15 right now. It's an REIT, so obviously those comes with a little bit of risk with another like major real estate downturn. But for the time being, they've been giving out a pretty consistent dividend. After that is actually going to be Apple Hospitality, ticker symbol APLE, and this is one that I actually owned in the past. They own a ton of hotels, actually pretty well-known ones, so that's where a majority of their income actually comes from, and their current monthly dividend yields around a 7.37% yield. So that is a actually pretty high yield. It's tough to find very many stocks or companies that are able to give a yield that high for a long period of time, just simply because it just doesn't make sense financially. But either way, they actually have been giving theirs out for quite some time, and they have been able to sustain a relatively high yield for some time as well. So I think that's important to note as well. And they haven't had any major growth or anything like that. Once again, it would be almost nearly impossible to find a monthly dividend stock that's having like crazy stock growth and also being able to give out a consistent dividend. It just doesn't happen very often, but they've had decent growth. Not a bad stock at all, one that has a very high yield and is a monthly dividend and also an REIT, and I actually think they're at a pretty decent valuation right now as well. The next stock on the list is going to be ticker symbol LTC, which is just LTC Properties, and this is also another REIT stock, another stock that's totally based on real estate. They were on recent lows somewhat recently, so if you were able to get them, that was probably a nice pickup there. This is a stock that has a 5.14% dividend yield at the time of making this video. They're pretty much based on like elderly care real estate, if that makes any sense to you. A lot of people who are buying their homes are either literally for retirement people or people who are just somewhere near that age. A lot of baby boomers, so they are targeting a pretty large population as well, and I think that's important to note. So that's probably got a pretty decent amount of years still left in them. They're decently valued right now. Last time I checked, they were around 11-12 PE ratio or so, and overall pretty solid REIT, pretty solid monthly dividend stock as well, and a yield that's over 5%. That's a pretty solid yield. The next one on the list is actually not a stock. This is going to be an ETF, and it actually is a monthly dividend ETF. So I kind of was lying when I said I was going to show you guys monthly dividend stocks, because one of these are an ETF. But this ETF is ticker symbol SPHD, and it's literally called Low Dividend High Volatility ETF. And as the name says, pretty obviously, it actually follows stocks that have, or did I say low volatility? Yeah, low volatility, high dividend dividend yield stock. So it follows a set of stocks that don't really go up and down too much, usually have consistent growth, and it also follows stocks that have a high dividend yield. So when you're looking for investing income and investing dividend stocks, that's pretty much probably the two biggest categories you'd want to look at, and this ETF I think fits them in pretty nicely. It's from ProShares too as well, and all these stocks are from the S&P 500 that are in this ETF also. And at the time of making this video, they have a 4.21% dividend yield, and I don't know if I already mentioned this. This is actually an ETF I own as well. They have about a 17 PE ratio, so once again, pretty fairly valued. They definitely haven't had any major growth, but they actually do have growth that's close to the S&P 500, slightly lower, but they do somewhat make up for it with that dividend yield that's also a monthly yield. And over a 4% dividend yield for an ETF that's monthly, that is very, very difficult to come by, especially one that gives it out relatively consistently. The next stock on the list is actually going to be one of the few stocks that isn't actually an REIT. It's Main Street Capital, ticker symbol MAIN. Main Street Capital, for you guys that don't know, it's basically like a business development company. So this is definitely different than an REIT. It's not as focused on real estate by any means, but they still actually have been able to get out a monthly dividend for quite some time now, and pretty consistently as well. And this one is actually somewhat unique because every year they give out 2 dividends in December. So rather than just having 1 dividend payout, they actually give out 2 dividend payouts, and that payout is slightly more. So I think that is kind of cool and kind of interesting that they do that. And excuse me, they actually do it twice a year, once in June and once in December. I couldn't remember the months, but so that's actually kind of interesting. It's like very difficult to find a stock that gives out dividend payments even monthly, but more than monthly is like super hard to find, but they are able to do it. And Maine has a 6.24% dividend yield as well, around a 13 PE ratio, so pretty fairly valued also. And similar to some of these other monthly dividend stocks, they haven't had any major growth or anything like that. Moving on to the next stock and the final stock on the list, which is another REIT, is going to be O Realty Income, ticker symbol O, just the letter O. This is probably, I would think, one of the best known monthly dividend stocks, and literally their slogans like the monthly dividend company or something like that. Very well known. It's, in my opinion, one of the best monthly dividend stocks out there, and one that I own as well, and one that I would definitely feel comfortable owning for some time, and I think will continue to consistently give out their dividend yield. They do have a lower yield, and actually the lowest yield in this entire list, which might be important to you, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, because out of all the stocks in this list, besides maybe that ETF, they're probably going to be giving it out the longest, and they're probably the most sound fundamental company out of this entire list as well. They actually are not at a good buying point right now, though. At least I don't think they are. They've been doing very well, and they've actually been performing considerably better than all the stocks in this portfolio or in this video as well. So not actually at a good buying point right now. Might have to wait till they dip down quite a bit. Overall, they've been giving a really nice dividend for well over 20 years. I think they're almost close to 25 now or so. It's really been one of the best REITs in the stock market for quite some time, at least 20 plus years or so. And overall, I mean, they don't have the world's highest yield or anything like that, but they do have a very nice yield. And if you are looking to just buy them for the long term to continue to get that monthly dividend yield and to reinvest them, then now you could really buy them whenever. This is a stock that I will always feel comfortable averaging up on them. Most people average down on stocks because that just makes more sense. It wouldn't make sense to buy a stock when it's overpriced, but if you're buying a monthly dividend stock that you're going to be owning for a very long time, that might be the one case where it would be okay to average up on a stock. But anyways, guys, that's it for this video. So these 5 stocks and 1 ETF that I mentioned in the video, going from the first to the last. First one is STAG, ticker symbol STAG. Next one's Apple Hospitality, ticker symbol APLE. Next one's LTC Properties, ticker symbol LTC. The ETF that I mentioned is SPHD, ticker symbol, and then that's ProShares S&P 500 High Dividend Low Volatility ETF. Next one's going to be Main Street Capital, ticker symbol MAIN, and the last one's going to be Realty Income, ticker symbol O, which in my opinion is one that I own and also one of my favorite and probably the best monthly dividend stock in this portfolio. So I am long on 3 of these stocks and 1 ETF. I'm long on Reality Income, SPHD, as well as Main Street Capital. So at the time I make this video anyways, not short on anything as well. But anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comment section what you think about these monthly dividend stocks, and also if there's some other ones. I feel like I'm going to be seeing a lot of PSEX in there. I know that's been like a really popular stock. I think Ricky Guertas or someone might have mentioned it or recommended that stock. But other than that, let me know if there's any other monthly dividend stocks that you guys like or own, maybe perhaps in the comment section. I'd like to hear if there's some other good ones out there as well. These are just a list of 6 that I found and that I like. And also, like I said before, if you're new to the channel, I talk about investing, the stock market, personal finance, entrepreneurship, things like that. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff and you are not yet subscribed to my channel, definitely consider subscribing. But other than that, guys, thanks for watching.